It's already done. By the time the cameras stopped rolling, by the time the lights cut off in that arena, the real story had already leaked out the back door. And nobody, not the fans, not the bloggers, not even the people standing 2 feet away from her, caught what just happened. But somebody talked. And what they said changes everything you thought you knew about this whole I am boxing performance. Ladies and gentlemen, we caught her. The queen, the so-called face, the woman who's been screaming her own name louder than her wins. Claressa Shields just got exposed by the one person she didn't see coming. Her own self. Again. And this time, the receipts didn't come from a blogger, didn't come from a hater, didn't come from a leaked DM. They came from the very mouth she's been running for 2 straight years. And if you're new here, buckle up. Because what you're about to hear is the kind of mess Tisa would call a deep dive that nobody else caught. The kind of drag Ruby Kai would put a foot on. The kind of shade B would whisper into a hot mic. And the kind of reveal fantastic hip-hop would close with, "We got her on record." So let's get into it. Because the queen has been capping. And the cap is wearing thin. Okay, you guys, let me set the scene. Because to really understand how messy this latest round of Claressa drama got, you got to rewind. Not by years, not even by months, just by a few weeks. Sources are saying, and I'ma let y'all decide, that not too long ago, Alycia Baumgartner's camp was quietly reaching out. Not loudly, not publicly, quietly. The kind of quiet that only happens when somebody is trying to make a move without their current team finding out. The kind of quiet that has lawyers reading text messages twice. The kind of quiet that ends careers and starts wars. The reach out wasn't to MVP Promotions. The reach out was to the other side. To Salida Promotions. To Win Records. To the building Claressa Shields built her name in. And the message was simple, but loud. I want in. I want to fight on the undercard. I want to collab. I see what y'all got cooking and I want a seat at that table. Now pause. Let that sit. Because just weeks later, the same Alycia Baumgartner is on a live stream calling Claressa jealous. Jealous of her. The Olympic gold medalist. The woman with the belts. The woman whose name is on the marquee. The same woman she was just trying to slide into the DM of like an unread message at 2 a.m. This is the part where the story flips upside down. But hold on. Don't get ahead of me. Because there's more. There's always more. And this is where the deep dive opens up and starts swallowing the whole narrative whole. Let's talk about MVP Promotions for a second. Let's talk about what they really are right now. Because somebody needs to spell this out. MVP isn't just any promotion. MVP is the promotion putting women's boxing on ESPN, on Netflix, on global platforms with billion-dollar budgets and rooms full of A-list celebrities. We're not talking little local card. We're talking the kind of fight night that ends up in your group chat the next morning whether you watch boxing or not. And we're being told, by people who would know, that Alycia is sitting on a roster of about 30 women. 30. And of those 30, the going rate for most of them is somewhere between 10, 15, 20,000 to fight. That's it. That's the bag. That's the so-called dream that Claressa is supposedly jealous of. Y'all, let me just say this. If that's the bag, why is she trying to leave? Because that's the part nobody is asking. That's the question MVP Promotions doesn't want floating around. That's the leak in the boat that's been sailing on social media for 2 months now. Why is the face of your future allegedly knocking on the door of the promotion you keep calling washed? I'ma let y'all sit with that one. Because there's no clean answer. Now let's bring it back to the receipts. Because every time Claressa opens her mouth, every time she goes on a tirade, every time she takes that phone and starts ranting like she got something to prove, she snitches on herself. And this is the pattern. This is the playbook. This is the cycle Ruby Kai would say she got to be dragged for until she gets it right. The cycle goes like this. Cry. Act a fool. Play victim. Brag. Bully. Cry again. Play victim again. And every now and then, sprinkle in a little bit of I am boxing energy on top of it like seasoning on a dry chicken wing. That's the pattern. That's the recipe. And the internet has the receipts on every single ingredient. But this latest spin, this one is different. Because this time, MVP Promotions allegedly has people on payroll trying to push the narrative that Claressa is suspended. Suspended. From boxing. Now you tell me how you suspend a woman who is undefeated, sitting on multiple belts, who literally just had Olympic medals around her neck. Make it make sense. Because it doesn't. That's not a suspension. That's a smear. That's a quiet little PR push designed to make people whisper at the bar. Yeah, I heard she can't fight no more. Yeah, I heard she's done. That kind of low-budget rumor. The kind that sticks if nobody pushes back. Well, she pushed back. And in pushing back, she snitched on the entire operation. You see how this works? You see why this is the Claressa shieldology that the blogger's been studying for years now? Every move she makes is reactive. Every move she makes is loud. Every move she makes ends up exposing somebody. Usually herself, but sometimes the entire system around her. And this time, the system caught astray. Let's slow it down, because I want y'all to really understand the layers here. Alycia Baumgartner, by her own actions, allegedly tried to leave MVP. The same MVP she'll defend on a live stream. The same MVP whose CEO she was hugged up with at events. The same MVP that's marketing her face on flyers. She allegedly tried to leave that. To go where? To the promotion that her supposed rival runs. To Salida Promotions. To Win Records. To the place where the biggest name on the roster is Claressa herself. Now ask yourself, and this is the part Tisa tells would slow down on. If Claressa was really jealous of Alycia, why is Alycia the one trying to walk into Claressa's house? Why is Alycia the one sliding into the DMs? Why is Alycia the one looking for the collab, the undercard, the opportunity? Jealousy don't move like that. Jealousy moves the other way. But here's the catch. Here's the part of the deep dive that nobody, and I mean nobody, has put together publicly yet. Alycia didn't even show up to her own promotion's last fight. The last Salida Promotions card. The one her own people put together. She wasn't there. She was somewhere else. She was in New York. On Mother's Day. Allegedly trying to make sure a certain other woman in the boxing space, the one they call Kapu, wasn't getting any clean shine without her in the photo. So let me get this straight. You're going to skip your own promotions fight. Then go crash somebody else's event on a holiday. Take pictures up front. Get moved to the back. Get caught up in your feelings about it. And then come online the next week and tell everybody Claressa is jealous of you? Make sense. This is the energy Ruby Kai would call out loud on a live stream. This is the kind of behavior that makes you go, kiss my ass, and exit the chat. This is the kind of mess that makes a whole comment section type, receipts please, in all caps at the same time. And the receipts? The receipts are right there. In her own footage. In her own live streams. In her own little phone hand to the camera moments where she meant to prove a point and accidentally proved everybody else's point instead. Remember the whole Maserati buzz situation? Remember when she said, watch, I'ma show y'all. This is the first time I ever talked to him. He was a stalker. He showed up everywhere. I don't even know how he found me. Watch. And then she held up the phone. With the conversation. Open. On screen. Showing the entire timeline of a relationship that contradicted every word coming out of her mouth. That's not a leak. That's not a hack. That's not a setup. That's a woman snitching on herself in real time, with her own thumb, in 1080p, on her own live stream. You can't write this. This is not something a publicist can clean up. This is not something a PR team can spin. This is somebody doing the work for the bloggers, for the haters, for the receipts pages, and for the algorithm, all at the same time. Now let's pull on the next thread. Because this thread is loose. And once you pull it, the whole sweater unravels. The Remy Ma piece. Remember when Claressa got mad, visibly, audibly, on camera mad, that somebody was bumping a Remy Ma track? You remember the confrontation. You remember the energy. You remember her clearly saying, on tape, I hate when she runs her mouth. That was the line. I hate when she runs her mouth. Not, I hate that song. Not, turn down that music. I hate when SHE runs her mouth. That's a target. That's a name. That's a person. Fast forward. Different live stream. Different week. A lower tier influencer who shares a name with a famous female rapper hops in her comments and says, you ain't do nothing wrong, queen. And Claressa goes, and I quote, yeah, I'm tired of these washed up rappers got these bees feeling themselves. Boom. Did anybody catch that? Because the internet caught it. The bloggers caught it. The receipts pages caught it. The same woman who told us she don't listen to Remy Ma, who said she don't care what Remy Ma does, just gave us the entire mission statement. Washed up rappers got these bees feeling themselves. That's not a random shot. That's a specific shot. That's a reveal. That's a confession dressed up as shade. This is the pattern. This is the Claressa Shieldology. Everything she says she doesn't do, she does. Everything she says she's not bothered by, she's bothered by. Everything she swears she's over, she's actively still in. If she says she didn't text, she texted. If she says she didn't watch, she watched. If she says she don't care, she's been thinking about it for a week straight. And once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. That's why this latest round of drama hits different. Because we're not just watching a beef anymore. We're watching a system. A whole behavioral system. A whole loop. The cry. The brag. The bully. The deflect. The drag. The reset. Now let me pause and zoom out. Because I want to talk about the line that broke the internet's neck this week. I am boxing. That's what she said. Word for word. Type it in. Search it. It's right there. I am boxing. Now let me just take a deep breath. Because we have to address this with the seriousness it deserves. Boxing is a sport. Boxing has men. Boxing has women. Boxing has weight classes. Boxing has decades of history. Boxing has Ali, Tyson, Mayweather, Lewis, Frazier, Hagler, Pacquiao. Boxing has Holyfield, Holmes, Klitschko, De La Hoya, Hopkins. Boxing has Lucia Ridger. Boxing has Christy Martin. Boxing has Katie Taylor. Boxing has Cecilia Brækhus. Boxing has Layla Ali. Boxing has, yes, Claressa Shields. But Claressa is not boxing. Claressa is in boxing. There is a difference. A massive, foundational, undeniable difference. You know what LeBron James never said? I am the NBA. You know why? Because he didn't have to. The games told the story. The trophies told the story. The legacy told the story. The fans told the story. You know what Tom Brady never said in his peak? I am the NFL. You know why? Because the ring spoke louder than the mouth. You know what Steph Curry never said? I am basketball. You know why? Because when you reshape a sport with the way you play, the sport says your name. You don't have to say it for it. That's the difference between greatness and grasping. Greatness whispers. Grasping screams. And when you scream it, the internet hears every crack in your voice. So when Claressa stands up there and says, I am boxing, what the internet hears is, I'm scared people are going to forget. And that's the saddest part. Because she doesn't have to be scared. The Olympic medals are still around her neck. The record is still undefeated. The shelf is still full. Nobody can take that away. But she's the one taking away from it. Every time. Every live stream. Every rant. Every I am boxing moment. She's the one chipping at her own statue. She's the one papping upstairs into a microphone that didn't need to be on. Now look, I know what some of y'all are thinking. Why are y'all so hard on her? And that's fair. That's a fair question. So let me answer it directly. Nobody is hard on Claressa for being great. We're hard on Claressa for being loud about being great while doing not so great things on camera. There's a difference between being confident and being chaotic. Confidence doesn't need to be marketed. Chaos has to be repackaged every other week to stay relevant. And what we're watching right now is chaos in a confidence costume. Let me rehook y'all for a second, because I know somebody just scrolled into this video halfway through and they need to catch up. So here it is. In 10 seconds. Ready? Claressa Shields said she's boxing itself. Alycia Baumgardner allegedly tried to jump promotions to be near her. MVP Promotions allegedly pushed a fake Claressa is suspended rumor. The receipts came out. The lies cracked. The egos cracked louder. And the queen is on a tirade defending her crown while the challenger is exposing herself one live stream at a time. Caught up? Good. Now keep watching. Because this next part is the part nobody saw coming. Because there's a name in this story that we haven't even said out loud yet. A name that's been hovering in the background of every Claressa rant, every Alycia post, every behind-the-scenes whisper. And it's a name the algorithm starts boosting the second you mention it. Kapu. Yeah, we're saying it. Because we have to. Kapu is the woman whose Mother's Day event Alycia allegedly crashed in New York. Kapu is the woman who allegedly got moved up to the front while Alycia got moved to the back. Kapu is the woman who, every time her name comes up in a live stream, makes Alycia walk over and start a whole side quest about how she knocked them out. Face ass, as the internet has been quoting. And Kapu hasn't even responded. Not really. Not loudly. Not with a live stream. Not with a rant. Not with a phone in her hand showing the wrong screen at the wrong time. You know why? Because Kapu doesn't need to. Kapu is doing the one thing in this whole circus that nobody else is doing. Staying quiet while everybody else digs their own grave on camera. That's a level of game. That's a level of patience. That's a level of, let her cook her own meal and I'll come eat the leftovers, energy that the internet respects, whether they say it out loud or not. So while Alycia is out here telling everybody Claressa is jealous, Caputo is sitting in a corner not saying a word, watching two women throw everything they got at each other on her behalf, and quietly building her own brand while the smoke is rising on both sides. That's chess. That's actual chess. Meanwhile, on the other end of the board, you got Claressa knocking pieces off the table because she doesn't like how the game is going. And you got Alycia trying to flip the board entirely because she's losing her own piece. That's not chess. That's the same kid who turns the Monopoly board over when they land on Boardwalk with 2 hotels on it. We see y'all. We're not blind. And while we're talking about people we see, let's talk about the silent partners in this whole mess. Let's talk about the people behind the curtain. The promoters, the managers, the handlers, the whisperers in the ear. The ones who supposedly tell their fighter, yeah, go on live tonight, that'll fix the narrative, when, baby, going on live is the last thing that's gonna fix anything. Whoever is running PR for some of these fighters needs to be fired. Today. Immediately. With cause. Because watching your client repeatedly walk into a live stream and torch their own credibility while you sit silent in the back of the room is professional malpractice. That's not a manager. That's a witness. And we, as the audience, see that too. We see who's quiet when their fighter is loud. We see who's defending and who's deflecting. We see whose team gets ahead of the story and whose team waits for the story to land on their plate already cold. Because in this era, the era of live streams, the era of receipts, the era of the comment section being a courtroom, your team's silence is louder than any statement you put out 3 days later. That's the new media reality. And every promoter, every manager, every brand attached to these fighters needs to wake up to it. Because the next viral moment is one live stream away. The next career-altering screenshot is one rant away. The next, wait, did she really just say that? Moment is already buffering in somebody's drafts. Now let me drop a fresh layer on this for y'all. Because there's some new whispers floating around that haven't fully surfaced yet, and I want to be the first to give it to you. Allegedly, and I'ma keep saying allegedly because that's how we operate around here, there's a sit-down meeting that almost happened. Not between Claressa and Alycia, between the promotions themselves, behind closed doors, with lawyers in the room, with contracts on the table, with numbers being floated. The number being floated? Bigger than anything either side has admitted publicly. Bigger than the $15,000 undercard purses. Bigger than the Netflix marketing budget. We're talking the kind of number that makes both sides take their phones off the table and put them face down. But the meeting fell apart. Allegedly. Because somebody, and I'ma let y'all guess who, went on a live stream and said something that made the other side walk away from the table. Now that is the real reason nobody is talking about. That's the real, the bag was right there, and we fumbled it moment. That's the real loss. Not the loss of a rumor war. The loss of a generational fight, a generational payday, a generational moment for women's boxing. All because somebody had to grab the phone instead of the pen. And if that meeting was as real as the whispers say it was, then everything you just watched, every rant, every live stream, every I am boxing line, every she's jealous of me tirade, is just damage control. It's just two camps trying to control a narrative that's already slipped through their fingers. That's the saddest part. The story has already moved on. The internet has already decided. The blog cycle has already turned. And both sides are still trying to win a war that ended last week, on a fight night nobody knew was happening, in a room nobody was supposed to be in. Welcome to the chaos era of women's boxing, where the fights happen in the comments and the championships are won in the algorithm. Now I know what y'all are thinking, and I see y'all in the comments already typing. Well, why are you spending so much time on this if it's all just noise? Good question. Real question. Let me answer it honestly. Because noise becomes news. Noise becomes a movement. Noise becomes the thing your kids ask you about 10 years from now when they're studying the history of women's boxing in some documentary on whatever platform we're all watching by then. Noise matters. Noise is documentation. Noise is the raw material that future legacies get carved out of. And we are the documenters. We are the receipts keepers. We are the ones putting the timeline together in real time so that when the dust finally settles, the truth doesn't get rewritten by whoever has the better PR team. That's why we do this. That's why we deep dive. That's That's why we go line by line, live stream by live stream, screenshot by screenshot. Because somebody has to. And the mainstream sports media isn't going to. They're too busy still trying to figure out if women's boxing is worth covering. Spoiler, it's already been worth covering for 10 years. They're just late. But we're not. We're right on time. Every time. But back to the bigger story. Because this isn't just a Claressa story. This is a women's boxing story. This is a promotion war story. This is a money story. This is a who controls the narrative story. And those are the kinds of stories that change careers. Let me lay it out plain. MVP Promotions has the money. MVP Promotions has the platforms. ESPN, Netflix, the streaming giants, the cable deals, the global reach. MVP Promotions has the Rolodex of celebrity faces that show up to fight nights and turn boxing cards into pop culture moments. Alycia Promotions and Win Records have Claressa. Claressa is the face. Claressa is the draw. Claressa is the brand. And if you ask Claressa, Claressa is also boxing itself. Which, again, let's leave that alone. So when Alycia allegedly tries to leave MVP and slide over to Win Records, what is she really saying? She's saying, the bag I'm sitting on isn't big enough. She's saying, I want a piece of what Claressa got. She's saying, the platform isn't matching the paycheck. And whether MVP wants to hear it or not, that whisper is going to get louder if more fighters on that roster start asking the same questions. You know how I know? Because the bloggers have been hearing it. The whispers. The fighters are not happy murmurs. The she's getting 15 for a main event, that's not it complaints. The I want the streaming deal, not just the social media post frustration. That's not made up. That's industry talk. And industry talk eventually becomes industry headlines. Now flip the script. Alycia and Win Records. They got the face, but maybe not the platform. They got the brand, but maybe not the budget. They got the loudest voice in the room, but maybe not the biggest room. And both sides know it. That's why this back and forth on social media isn't just personal. It's strategic. It's positioning. It's two sides trying to convince the audience that they are the real future of women's boxing. And in the middle of all that, we got Claressa screaming, I am boxing, and Alycia screaming, she's jealous of me. And the truth, the actual truth, the truth that nobody on either side wants to say out loud, the truth is they need each other. They are each other's biggest payday. They are each other's biggest storyline. They are each other's ticket to the kind of money that doesn't come from a $15,000 fight purse. But pride is a hell of a drug, and ego is a hell of a habit. So instead of cooking up the fight that would print money for everybody involved, we get live streams. We get receipts. We get, I am boxing, and she's jealous, and she tried to slide in my DM, and no I didn't, and yes you did, and on and on and on. Y'all know what this reminds me of. This reminds me of every time a couple breaks up on Twitter instead of in private. Both sides screaming. Both sides lying about who texted who first. Both sides claiming to be the one who walked away. And the audience watching, eating popcorn, taking screenshots, knowing damn well both of y'all are still checking each other's pages at 3 a.m. That's where we're at. Now let me drop a few more details before we close this part of the deep dive. Because there are some things rolling around in the background that haven't even hit your timeline yet. Number 1. There's allegedly a fight announcement coming. Soon. Like, very soon. From Claressa's camp. With Win Records and Alycia Promotions stamped all over it. And depending on who that fight is against, this entire narrative could flip overnight. Because if she lines up against a top 5 name from the MVP side, the she's suspended rumor dies in real time. And the people who pushed it look stupid. Number 2. The MVP roster talk is starting to leak. Quietly. Not in big posts. Not in viral threads. Just in the corners of boxing podcasts where the older heads talk. They're saying the fighters want more. They're saying the platform isn't translating into the paychecks people expected. They're saying that we put women's boxing on Netflix. Line is great for marketing, but doesn't pay rent. And if that whisper turns into a roar, MVP has a real problem on its hands. Number 3. The Alycia Kaput crash moment in New York on Mother's Day. There's allegedly more footage. Footage that didn't make it to the public yet. Footage that shows the actual moment she got moved from the front to the back. The actual reaction. The actual look on her face when she realized she wasn't the main attraction in a building she wasn't even supposed to be in. If that footage drops, game over. Number 4, and this one is important. The internet has receipts on the alleged "we don't want you back" energy from a different promotion event Alycia attended. The energy of getting walked out like the bouncer at a corner store catching a shoplifter. You don't come back. You don't come back. You don't come back. That's the energy. And whether it's exaggerated or not, the fact that it's even floating around tells you something about how the industry is starting to talk about her behind closed doors. Number 5. And this is the one that's going to keep me up at night. There's whispers, quiet ones, not loud ones, the kind you have to lean in to catch, that a major streamer, a major podcast network, a major media company has been quietly approaching both sides with a documentary deal. A full docuseries. Behind the scenes. All access. Everything. Cameras in the gym. Cameras in the meetings. Cameras in the makeup chair before the press conference. The whole thing. If that deal closes and the cameras are already rolling, which, allegedly, they may be, then everything we've been watching for the last 6 months hasn't been a beef. It's been a season 1 storyline. And we, the audience, are the test audience. We're the focus group. We're the reaction shots they'll use in the trailer. Now think about that for a second. Think about how clean this all suddenly looks when you put a documentary deal at the center of it. The live streams, the leaks, the strategic rumor pushes, the "she's jealous of me," timed perfectly with album-style press cycles. The "I am boxing" line that's so quotable it might as well already be a t-shirt. The Mother's Day crash that's already been recapped on 3 different platforms. That's not chaos. That's choreography. Or at least it could be. And if it is, somebody on both sides of this beef is a lot smarter than the internet is giving them credit for. But if it's not, if this is all genuinely just 2 people losing the plot in public, then God help the next press conference, because it's going to be a circus and somebody's about to ride the elephant. These are the kinds of details that make a story bigger than a beef. These are the kinds of details that make a deep dive worth the time. Because we're not just watching 2 women argue. We're watching a whole industry shift in real time, and most people don't even realize it. Now let me bring it back to Claressa for a second, because I don't want anybody to leave this video thinking we're letting her off the hook either. Claressa, baby, sit down with me for a second. You don't have to do this. You really don't. You are already great. You don't need the "I am boxing" line. You don't need the 7 live stream a week schedule. You don't need to respond to every blogger, every washed-up rapper's cousin, every Instagram comment with under 5 likes. You don't. The greatness is already on the resume. The medals are already in the case. The legacy is already being written. All you have to do is fight. All you have to do is win. All you have to do is let the work speak. But you can't help yourself. And that's the part that makes the story so addictive. Because every time we think you're about to calm down, you grab the phone. Every time we think you're about to take the high road, you take the highway exit straight back into the comments. Every time we think you've finally read the room, you read the comment section instead. And listen, that's why we keep watching. Because you're a show. Whether you mean to be or not. Whether the team wants you to be or not. You are content. You are drama. You are a real-time soap opera with a heavyweight belt around your waist. And the bloggers love you for it. Even the ones dragging you. Especially the ones dragging you. Because you give them material every week without missing a beat. Now flip back to Alycia for a moment. Because she's not innocent in this either. Not by a long shot. Alycia, sweetheart, you can't go on live stream calling somebody jealous of you while your DMs are allegedly full of "let me get on that undercard." You can't say somebody wants everything you got while you're allegedly trying to walk into the building they built. You can't crash another promotions event on Mother's Day, get moved from the front to the back, then come home and tell your fans you're untouchable. That math don't math. The story doesn't story. The lie doesn't lie convincingly. And the internet, for all its faults, can do math. The internet can story. The internet can spot a lie a mile away. The internet has time. And it has receipts. And it remembers. And it will pull a clip from 3 years ago to disprove a live stream from 3 minutes ago. That's just what it does now. So when you stand up there and tell the audience one thing while doing the opposite behind the scenes, somebody, somewhere, with a screenshot and a streaming app, is going to put it all together. And that somebody is going to post it. And that post is going to go viral. And next thing you know, the story isn't about your fight anymore. The story is about your credibility. And in boxing, credibility is everything. Because the moment people stop believing what you say in front of a microphone, they start questioning what you do inside the ring. That's the real damage. That's the real loss. Not the loss of a fight. The loss of trust. Now let's bring this whole thing home, because I want to leave y'all with the bigger picture. The part you'll be thinking about long after this video ends. What we are watching, in real time, is the chaos era of women's boxing. And chaos isn't always bad. Chaos sells tickets. Chaos drives ratings. Chaos gets the casual fan to look up from their phone and ask, wait, what's happening in women's boxing right now? That's a win. That's a marketing department's dream. That's eyeballs. But chaos without follow-through is just noise. And noise gets old. Fast. So the question isn't who is more famous, who is louder, who is jealous of who tried to leave what promotion. The question is, who is actually going to step in the ring? Who is actually going to sign the contract? Who is actually going to let the gloves talk instead of the iPhones? Because that's the only way this story ends well. For Claressa, for Alycia, for MVP, for Salida, for Win Records, for every woman on those rosters making 15, 20, 25,000 a fight while wondering why the hell the men get $1 million for a tune-up. Make the fight, pay the women, sign the contracts, print the money, or keep doing this and watch the same audience that's eating it up today get bored and move on to the next beef next week. Because attention is a currency and the internet spends it fast. Now before we close this whole thing out, let's circle back to where we started. Because the hook of this whole story isn't even the loudest part of it. It's the quiet part. The part nobody put on a flyer. The part that leaked out the back door while everybody was watching the front. Alycia allegedly tried to leave. Claressa allegedly got the message. The team allegedly held the receipts. And the moment the public narrative didn't match the private behavior, the entire thing fell apart on live stream like a wet paper plate at a barbecue. And that's the story. That's the real story. Not the I am boxing line. Not the she's jealous line. Not the Sukiana low budget trapper line. Not the Remy Ma shot dressed up as a general statement. Not even the Kaput crash on Mother's Day. The real story is that two women who could be making generational money fighting each other in a stadium with a global audience are instead making content for the algorithm for free. Free content, free drama, free engagement, for the platforms, for the bloggers, for the receipts pages, for every channel out here doing breakdowns just like this one. That's the bag they're leaving on the table. That's the missed opportunity. That's the part nobody wants to admit, because admitting it would mean the egos have to take a back seat. And the egos are not going to do that. Not yet. Maybe not ever. So we keep watching. We keep clipping. We keep posting. We keep dragging. We keep stitching. We keep memeing. We keep tweeting. We keep building the story, one live stream at a time, one rant at a time, one watch at a time. And when the dust finally settles, whenever that is, somebody is going to look back at this exact moment and say, this was the moment women's boxing could have taken over. This was the moment it could have broken into the mainstream the way the UFC did. This was the moment the bag was right there, on the table, with everybody's name on it, and they fumbled it for the sake of a comment section. Don't be that moment. Don't let this be that moment. Make the fight. Take the bag. Let the gloves speak. Let the legacy build itself. And let us, the bloggers, the fans, the internet, go back to talking about the sport instead of the spectacle. Because here's the truth, the real truth, the truth nobody on either side of this beef is going to say out loud. We love the chaos. We do. We're entertained. We're locked in. We're hitting the like button. But we love a great fight even more. And right now, in this moment, in this era, in this exact second of women's boxing, we are starving for one. So Claressa, Alycia, MVP, Salida, Win Records, the whole roster, the whole industry, we see you, we hear you, we got the receipts, we got the screenshots, we got the timeline, we got the patterns memorized, we got the playbook studied, we are the Claressa Shieldsologists, we are the Alycia Baumgartnerologists, we are the women's boxing promotion warologists, and we are not falling for the spin anymore. Make the fight, or the next viral moment isn't going to be about who's the face. It's going to be about who's the past. Because at the end of the day, the queen ain't the one who screams the loudest. The queen is the one still standing when the noise dies down. And right now, the noise is louder than the work. And that's a problem nobody on that side of the camera wants to admit. But we said it. We put it out there. We did the deep dive. We connected the dots. We pulled the threads. We laid it out so even the casual fan in the back can follow the plot. So tell me, and I mean really tell me, who do you think is lying here? Who do you think is telling the truth? Who do you think actually slid into whose DM first? Who do you think is going to blink first when the contract finally lands on the table? Drop it in the comments. The juicy ones. The petty ones. The I've been saying this ones. The y'all not ready for what I'm about to type ones. All of them. We read them all. And if you made it this far, you already know what to do. Like the video. Hit subscribe. Turn on the bell. Because the moment this story breaks again, and it will, because it always does, we will be the first ones with the deep dive, the receipts, and the breakdown your group chat is going to be quoting all week. Until then, the queen is talking, the challenger is plotting, the promotions are panicking, the bloggers are watching, and the truth is leaking out one live stream at a time. We see it, we hear it, we got it, and we're not letting any of it go. Exit the chat, because this story is just getting started. And the queen, the challenger, the promotions, the whispers in the back rooms, the leaked DMs, the fight that's allegedly already being written into ink. We'll be here, pen ready, receipts loaded, comments open. See y'all in the next deep dive, and trust, it's coming sooner than these camps want it to.